There's a place deep in Montana's forest that even the most experienced park rangers refuse to patrol after sunset. A place that swallowed four hikers back in 1975 and gave them back nearly 50 years later, looking exactly the same. But one of them was missing again, and something else came back in his place. It mimics your voice, wears your face, and waits in the dark behind the walls. Tonight, you're going to hear a real ranger's final shift, one that should have never been recorded. Put on your headphones, turn off the lights, and remember, not everything that walks out of the woods is human. My name is Jared Connolly. I've been a park ranger for over 15 years, most of it quiet work, keeping trails clean, telling teenagers to put out campfires, and occasionally chasing off black bears sniffing around dumpsters. But I need you to listen to this, really listen, because this is not a campfire story. This is something that happened to me in 2022. And I've never told anyone outside my department until now. Because if I did, people would think I'm insane. But I have to, because they came back. And they shouldn't have. It started on a Tuesday. I was stationed at Dead Hollow National Preserve, a stretch of Montana, backcountry that most tourists skip. The name sounds like something out of a horror movie, but it's real. 12,000 acres of dense pine, rocky valleys, and trails nobody walks anymore. Dead Hollow earned its name decades ago, when 5 hikers went missing without a trace. The place is practically a ghost park now. I was on solo patrol, taking the northern trail near Old Firewatch Tower 12, shut down since the late 80s. I had my pack, my radio, and my Glock. Nothing unusual. Then I got a call on the old dispatch frequency. And that was unusual. Ranger Connolly, we have reports of movement near Sector 7. Possibly campers. Investigate. Sector 7? That's Dead Hollow's heart. Nobody goes there. It's not on the map anymore. Just twisted pines, mossy ground, and this dead silence that presses on your ears. Still, protocol is protocol. I acknowledged and started the 3-mile hike inward. About halfway in, the temperature dropped. I mean, suddenly. It was 60 degrees when I started. Now my breath was fogging up. I checked my GPS glitching. Compass spun for a second. Everything was off. That's when I found the first tent. It was a faded green canvas. Old-style military surplus. Still standing, barely, molded, shredded in places. I stepped around it and found 3 more, all forming a rough circle. This was no ordinary campsite. I pulled my radio. Dispatch. This is Ranger Connolly. Found what looks like an abandoned camp in Sector 7. Multiple tents. 1970s era. Possible historical site. Crackle. Nothing. I repeated, still silence. Then I heard a snap. Not behind me. Inside the nearest tent. I drew my weapon, unzipped slowly. My mouth went dry. Inside sat a man, face gone, beard thick, wearing old-school hiking gear, leather boots, wool coat. His eyes were open, glazed, but breathing. Barely. I whispered, "Sir, are you okay?" He blinked, then croaked, "Where's Daniel?" "Who's Daniel?" I asked. That's when the other tents rustled. 3 more people emerged. 2 men, 1 woman, all dressed like they stepped out of a dam. 1974 LL Bean catalog. They were filthy, pale. One had dried blood on her cheek. Is it still 1975? One of them asked. I didn't speak right away. I just stared. For people alive, breathing, but so out of place it gave me this crawling feeling beneath my skin, like I was looking at ghosts in flesh. I said the only thing that made sense. You said it's 1975? One man, a tall guy with wild eyes and a bloody sleeve, nodded. Yeah, we came out here in June. We set camp near Dead Hollow Creek. We heard something one night, and then he trailed off. The woman, she had matted blonde hair and deep lines on her face, grabbed my vest. Where's the ranger station? We need a radio. Something's wrong with the sky. She was shaking, like deeply, uncontrollably. Not cold, something deeper. I took a step back and keyed my radio again. Dispatch. I need backup at Sector 7. Found 4 individuals, possibly missing persons. Repeat. Found 4 alive. Nothing. Just the wind through the trees. But even the wind didn't sound right. It had this whistle to it, like something imitating a human voice, like someone crying far off. I told them to follow me. They didn't even hesitate. They just fell in behind like scared kids. We hiked back, slowly. Every few minutes, they'd ask the same questions again and again. What day is it? Did Nixon resign yet? Have you seen Daniel? They had no gear, no phones, no ID, just dirty, decades-old clothing and wide, terrified eyes. They jumped at every crackle in the brush. They flinched at crows. And then, just a mile from the trailhead, one of them screamed. I turned and saw the younger guy, shaggy brown hair, missing a shoe, pointing back into the woods. He's there. He screamed. Daniel, Daniel, don't. There was nothing behind us. He took off running into the trees. I yelled, ordered him to stop. The others started screaming. I gave chase. Not even 30 seconds later, I found him, just his shoe. The rest of him was gone. Not a sound. No trail. No prints. Just the fading echo of that weird, unnatural whistling wind. We made it back to the station by dusk. I locked the doors, got them water, blankets, and started flipping through old files. My hands were shaking. I was sweating. Something was wrong. And then I found it. A black and white photo. 4 missing hikers, vanished June 1975 in Dead Hollow. Exact faces. Same clothes. All presumed dead. Search and rescue had found nothing. Not a shred. It was called Montana's most bizarre case at the time. And now, they were in my ranger station, shivering, asking for someone named Daniel. But one was missing again, just like before. And then, the woman looked up from her tea and asked, "Why is there something breathing in your walls?" I froze. "What did you just say?" I asked. She pointed toward the far wall of the ranger station, right by the breaker box. "There's something back there. Something breathing. I hear it every time it gets dark." Her eyes, wide, glassy, stared as if she knew. Not imagined. Knew. I walked to the breaker box and put my ear against the wall. And I swear to God, I heard it too. A faint, wet, wheezing breath. Deep, labored, like something massive trying to stay quiet. Like lungs struggling in the dark. I stepped back, heart pounding. Drew my Glock. Checked every corner of the station. Nothing. I told myself it was in my head. But the walls kept breathing. Later that night, the woman, her name was Lydia, came to me whispering. "It follows Daniel," she said. "He went missing first, before we all disappeared. The thing came after him. It wore his skin for days." I stared at her. "What do you mean, It wore his skin. She broke down crying. Then she told me a story that made my stomach turn. Daniel had gone missing on their third night. Back in 1975, they searched for hours. Then, just before dawn, he came back. Or something that looked like him did. He wouldn't eat, Lydia said. He didn't blink. And his voice was off, like too low. Like something was moving around inside him to make words. They realized too late it wasn't Daniel. Then people started to vanish one by one. And that was the last thing she remembered before waking up 47 years later. In the same tent, as if no time had passed. I didn't sleep that night. Around 2 a.m., my motion sensor by the East Trail tripped. I checked the camera feed, grainy, static-filled footage, and there it was. A figure, tall and thin, walking slowly toward the station. Except it didn't walk right. Its knees bent backwards. Its arms hung too low, like they were detached at the shoulder. And it dragged a face in its hand. Not a mask. A face. A man's face. Still fresh. Still dripping. I backed away from the monitor. My blood felt like ice water. And then the radio clicked on. A voice whispered through the static. "Jared, open the door." It was my voice. The voice on the radio, my own voice, hissed again. "Jared, I'm cold. Let me in." Lydia whimpered behind me. The two remaining hikers, Calvin and Marla, huddled in the corner, clutching tin mugs like talismans. Their eyes were fixed on the bolted door, as if a latch were the only shield against hell itself. I killed the station lights. Darkness swallowed us, broken only by the glow of the wall-hung map and the CCTV screen. Outside, the crooked figure reached the porch. It cocked its head, listening, then pressed the bloody face to the window. Skin slapped glass with a wet squelch. Through the camera's night vision grain, I saw lips flutter, like a glove being flexed. The radio crackled once more, my breath pattern, my cadence, but the words came out wrong. Vowels stretched by something too big for a human mouth. Open. Up. I did something reckless. Keyed the mic and spoke. "Who are you?" Static. Then a low chuckle, stereo, half in the speaker, half from the other side of the wall. "You were alone. Jared. Easier to wear one uniform than four." Calvin lost it, bolting for the back exit. I yelled, but the instant he unlatched the door, a third voice shrieked from the Treeline, an exact copy of his scream, but warbled, pitched down, like an audio tape chewed by wolves. Calvin skidded to a halt. I caught him by the collar and dragged him back inside. His cheeks were glazed with tears. That bought us maybe 30 seconds. Remember Lydia's comment about the breathing walls? I thought the thing outside was the source. I was wrong. When I yanked Calvin back, the floorboard beneath us flexed and exhaled. A gust of grave cold air rushed up my pant leg. Then I heard it. The same rattling wheeze Lydia swore lived in the walls, now rising from the crawl space under the station. Marla backed away, and her heel punched straight through a rotten plank. She screamed as splintered wood sliced her calf. I dragged her free. Her boot came back slick with something blacker than blood. Thick, mucus-like, reeking of iron and soil. The thing under us inhaled, schlurk, and every lamp in the station flickered, then died. The CCTV monitor popped, leaving burnt plastic stench. Total blackness. Calvin's hands found my wrist. "Flashlight," he rasped. I fumbled for the mag light on my belt, thumbed the switch, and froze. The beam caught a shape in the office corridor. Inside, tall, jointed wrong, wearing ranger green that wasn't mine. Its head dangled forward as if the neck had unraveled. From the dangling face mask slit, a mass of fingers, human fingers, slithered out like pale worms. It had gotten in, through the crawl space, maybe through the walls themselves. Basement hatch, I yelled. We retreated toward the supply closet, the only door with a reinforced frame. My Glock barked twice. Bullets punched through the shape, but it barely flinched. It just tilted its head farther, bones cracking like dry twigs, and listened to the bullet casings ping on linoleum. The closet stank of kerosene, bleach, and old moldy rope. We slammed the steel door, twisted the deadbolt, and braced our backs against it. The creature stopped right outside. A soft scrape, like nails tapping wood, brushed the door. Then it began to talk. First Calvin's voice, trembling. Jared, open. It's safe. Then Lydia's quiver. Please, help me. Then my own voice again. You can't hide forever. Every syllable sounded damp, as if spoken through a throat full of stagnant pond water. I clicked off the mag light to save power. In darkness, Marla's muffled sobs echoed like droplets in a cave. Time blurred. 5 minutes. 10, maybe 20. The thing outside paced, breathed, imitated. When it reached the radio on the office desk, it pressed transmit and showered the forest with nonsense. A child's giggle. A chorus of death rattles. Our panicked breathing recorded moments earlier. Somewhere in that chaos, Lydia tugged my sleeve. There's a maintenance tunnel, she whispered. Remember? You said so yesterday. Yesterday? She meant 1975. Her yesterday, my lifetime away. But she was right. A narrow conduit ran behind the supply racks, venting furnace exhaust to a gravel pit 50 yards downhill. I'd sealed it years ago with plywood, but the paneling looked brittle. I ran my hands along the back wall until fingers hit screws, rusted to dust. A few kicks, the board cracked. Cold night air washed in, carrying pine, decay, and something sweeter underneath, like rotting fruit. I motioned them through. Calvin crawled first, dragging Marla. Lydia followed. I went last, holstering the useless Glock to pull the plywood back in place behind me. Dark as tar. The tunnel was only 3 feet high, soil ceiling propped by old timber beams. I scraped knees, felt spiders burst under palms. Ahead, Calvin cursed. The beam of his phone, finally alight, flicked on and illuminated Daniel. He knelt in the dirt, 15 feet ahead, face flawless, hair still parted in 70s style. His eyes were shark black. Calvin gasped Daniel and reached, but Lydia shrieked. No, it wears him. Daniel's face sagged. The skin at his forehead peeled back like vinyl. Beneath, a slick, eyeless skull writhed, veined in black roots. Bloody teeth gnashed sideways. The tunnel shook, every beam groaning, then collapsed behind us with a roar of earth. Something huge plowed through, gulping dirt as if swimming. We had one exit, forward, toward the night. We burst from the vent grill into open. Moonlight on dead. Hollow's abandoned access road. Fog blanketed the pines, knee-high. Somewhere to our right lay Tower 12, rotting, one-legged silhouette stabbing the sky. Marla screamed and pointed. The creature, not Daniel, now rose from the broken vent, like a spider surfacing from water. Skinless arms unfurled, too many joints. It coughed out syllables. No faces left. Need yours. I yanked the emergency flare from my belt, struck it. Magnesium flared white hot, blinding the night. The creature reeled, shrieking in a pitch that punctured marrow. Steam hissed off its flesh. Maybe light hurt it, maybe heat. I waved the flare in arcs, driving it back. Lydia seized Calvin's collar. Tower. The tower's metal can block it. We sprinted up the access road. Gravel-slashed boots. Behind us, the thing regained footing, sprinting on all fours, gaining fast. Tower 12's ladder was a rusted spine. I shoved Lydia up first, then Marla. Calvin climbed, sobbing prayers. I followed, still brandishing the flare like a sword, embers raining down. Halfway, metal rungs snapped. Calvin dangled, shrieking, but Lydia grabbed his wrists, hauled him onto the deck. The monster hit the base post, claws tearing plywood skin. Reinforced steel beneath rang like a gong. It shrieked again, circling. Then, it began climbing the opposite support beam, claws punching holes in metal like paper. No time. Inside the tower cab, I found the ancient radio transmitter disconnected. Shattered glass everywhere. But the electrical breaker box maybe still lived. I jammed the flare's magnesium core between the mains terminals. White fire erupted, sparks arcing into the mast antenna. Energy screamed up the tower, turning it into a Tesla coil. The monster was halfway up when 10,000 volts surged through steel. It convulsed, every limb bloated, tearing, spewing black ichor. Its fake faces, dozens, billowed from its torso like popped balloons, burning away in arcs of light. A shockwave kicked us flat. Night went silent, but for sizzling ozone. When I dared peek over the deck, the creature lay in pieces at the base, no longer humanoid. Just charred sinew and a pile of masks. Daniel. Random hikers. One that looked disturbingly like me. And beneath each mask, nothing but a mouth. Rows upon rows of teeth, spiraling inward forever. We waited until sunrise, fearing every rustle. At first light we descended. The thing's remains had melted into a viscous tar already seeping into soil. The masks crumbled to ash at a touch. Lydia, Calvin, and Marla stood in the clearing. Faces turned east as if sunbathing for the first time in half a century. Calvin spoke. Remember the road home? We hiked to the ranger station ruin, now collapsed after the crawl space imploded. My truck still sat outside. Radio finally caught a tower, and I called for medical evac. The paramedics examined Lydia's group. No record of them in any modern database, because they'd been legally dead since 1975. When the helicopter lifted them away, Lydia caught my eye. She mouthed 2 words. It sleeps. Environmental cleanup teams stripped the area, burned the soil, and sealed dead hollow forever. The official report blamed an illegal chemical dump for hallucinations and structural collapse. I took a leave of absence. Every night, I dream of breathing walls and a voice that's almost my own, asking to come inside. And sometimes, when wind whistles through the pines outside my house, I swear I hear a faint, hungry radio crackle. Faces. I need more faces.